Alright, welcome to the second lesson in this estimating training session. In this lesson, we're going to do the takeoff, and we're going to use all of the things we learned in lesson 1 to determine all the materials we need and the labor we need in order to complete this project. So, how we're going to start with this now, since we've looked at all the plan pages in the first lesson, bring back up your set of plans. Now, I want you to start off with plan page 8.1, A8.1. That's the window schedule and the door schedule. Now, we've been there before in the first lesson, so you're familiar with all of this. So you're going to look at the windows that are drawn there, and they have that symbol underneath them, you remember, starting with A. We're going to start with A, and what we're going to learn in this lesson is how we determine what materials we need. So we're going to be using the plans, sometimes the specs, not so much now since we've already looked at them, but also we're going to be using the catalogs. Now you have a catalog downloaded in your package that you downloaded. Make sure first that you have all your material downloaded so it's there on the screen for you so you can use it. Now you're going to be looking at these pages and listening to me, so don't so worry so much that you can see the screen. Get these pages that you're going to be using up in front where you can see them. I'm going to walk you through them, and as we said before, anytime that I've gotten ahead of you, and just put pause and catch up and then push play again. And it'll take you all the way through it. Anytime you don't understand something I said, push pause again, rewind, and push play again, and listen to the explanation again. This is not difficult, but it might take a couple of times of you hearing it and doing it for it to set in your mind what you're doing. So basically this section, we are going to find out how to do a takeoff. So now you have a takeoff sheet in your package too, and it's just a guide. You can record this information however you want. If you're good with computers and can use Excel spreadsheet, create yourself an Excel spreadsheet. It will save you a lot of time and money and allow you to get to totals quicker than doing them by hand. But you have to learn this by hand in order to be able to use the software programs that are out there, and the one in particular we're going to use here. So let's start with page A8.1, and we're looking at window designated marker A, and it's at the bottom of the windows. Okay, so find A and then look at the design. Okay, now we're looking at window A. Window A, I want you to zoom in on it so that you can see all the dimensions and everything clearly on your computer screen. And just listen to me and I'll take you through it. You're going to see that the dimension across the top, the total width of this window is 6 feet. Now it has a plus or minus in front. And that means in any bid you're going to take the numbers that they give you, but in the field, if they get the job, they're going to have to field verify all of those dimensions to make sure they're right. Might be an inch or two off either way, but that's okay for the estimate. We want the round numbers where we can get them. So the width of this thing is 6 feet. The height, which is on the left side, the outside number, is 9 feet. So this is 6 foot by 9 foot window. Now you'll notice the other dimensions in there. They're going to help you because the things we have to determine first is how much head material we need. The head is the material that goes at the top of the window. How much sill material we need. That's S-I-L-L, window sill material. That's on the bottom of the window. And the jamb material that we need, which are the two sides. Now, the bars that you see in the middle of the window, the two going across and the one going up and down, those are called mullions. M-U-L-L-I-O-Ns. Mullions are verticals or horizontals, and those are the parts that have both sides can take glass. Okay, so jamb has glass on one side and the head, and the seal has glass on can take glass on one side. But the mullions can take glass on both sides. Now, you're also going to see that every place that metal meets is a joint. So, one of the first things we're going to do now is count joints, because joints are going to come into your labor calculation. Okay, so if you look at the top left-hand corner where those two pieces of metal meet, that's a joint. Going down that side, you'll see where the mullion meets the jamb. That's a joint, so there's 2. Then down again, there's another mullion that meets the jamb. That's a joint, that's 3. And then the corner joint at the bottom is 4. So I always go around that perimeter first and then count the joints on the interior. So Going from there, we go across the bottom to the first vertical mullion. That's a joint, so that's 5. The corner is 6. The joint for the horizontal mullion going up the right side, I lost count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The next one is 8. The corner at the top is 9. And then the vertical mullion there is 10. Then you count the 2 joints where the 2 mullions meet, one at the top and the one at the bottom. That means we have 12 joints. So you need to write that down. There's 12 joints in this window. So now you have to do the cuts as well. How many times is the material going to be cut? So everywhere metal meets, in this case, is not a cut. If the lines go straight through, that's one piece. If the lines do not go straight through, such as where the mullions meet in the middle, those are going to be 4 cuts in the middle, 4 cuts on the bottom one in the middle. Then you're going to have a cut at each corner and a cut at each end of the vertical and a cut at each end of the horizontals. So, counting cuts, we go from the top left corner, we have 1, 2 for the mullion, 3 for the bottom mullion, 4 for the bottom, straight across to the other corner on the right, that's 5. Then you've got a cut at the mullion again, and a cut at the other mullion, and a cut at the corner. So we've got 8 cuts altogether, because you're not going to cut that one piece twice, you're only going to cut it once. So where the mullion goes across, you've got 1 cut on each side of that. So we got 14 cuts. Does that make sense to you? So you got the corner, the corner, the corner, and the corner. That's 4 cuts. All right. The 2 joints in the middle is 4 cuts, and the 2 joints at the bottom are 4 cuts. So we've got 12 cuts. Okay, so write that down. There's 12 cuts that have to be made to the material. That's because this material comes in 24-foot links. So you have to get the material, put it in the shop, and cut it to the right lengths. Or sometimes they cut it in the field, but it has to be cut, and that takes time. So we know we've got our cuts and our joints there. Now we're going to determine how much material we need. So we know that we need 6 feet of head material. So write down head, 6 feet. We know at the bottom we need 6 feet of seal material. So you'll write 6 feet under seal. Then the jambs, there's 2 of those, they're each 9 feet. So we need 18 feet of jamb material. So you write jamb, 18 feet. Now the mullions in the middle, what you're going to count is the total length. Don't worry about the cuts. So we've got a vertical mullion that's 9 feet and 2 horizontal mullions that are 6 feet. So we have a 9 foot and 6 foot and 6 foot. So that's 6 and 6 is 12 and 9 is 15. So we have 15 feet of mullion. So now you have all of that you need. We're going to go to the catalog in a minute and find the other parts you need. But first, we have our joint count that's going to help us with that. And then we have this count. So now what you need to do, let's go up and do the next window. So go up to the right to B. Okay? This is a little more interesting because it has a door in it as well. Now, if you look at the dimensions, you see that B is there and it's separated from C by an opening. Okay? Alright. Now, what we've got here is the top line is the overall width, but you have to go down to the end of D to see what the top line is. Well, they're all going to be the same at 9 feet because it's going on one wall. So you know the height is always 9 feet on these. And you just have to look at the width. So the width on B is 7 feet 5.5 inches. Now with the opening for the door, they've got 3 feet 4 inches. That's to the outside of those mullions. Doors are always 3 feet by 7 feet, sometimes 8 feet. You'll get oddball doors, but most normal doors are 3 feet by 7 feet. Okay, so again we're going to do the same thing. We're going to count the joints here. Don't worry about the door because there's a frame around it, but you're going to count the joints. So beginning at the top left corner, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 to the bottom corner. Then you've got 5 here at the corner by the door. So go up around the door then. 6 at the mullion, 7 at the mullion, and go across the top of the door, 8 at that mullion intersection, 9 going down the door, 10 at the bottom of the door. Go over to the right to the corner of the frame is 11, 12 at the mullion, 13 at the mullion, 14 at the corner. So you got 14 joints on this. Now you do the cut count the same way. You have the head material as one piece. But down here, because of this door, you're going to end up with more cuts, okay? So you've got one cut at this corner, one cut at the mullion, one cut at the mullion there, one cut at the corner, another cut at the corner. You're not counting that mullion because you counted it once. Go up to the top of the door corner, that's a cut, and that because the mullion will go all the way across the top, you'll only count the one cut there and the one cut on the right hand side of the top of the door. Then go down the side of the door to the next mullion. So we're at 9 at that mullion, 10 at the bottom of the corner of the door, 11 at the corner of the frame itself, and then we go up on top of the count corner because we've already counted the cuts at the edge of the door. So we got 12 cuts on this one. All right. So you write that down. Now you're going to do the material again. So you've got 7 feet 5.5 inches of head material. Okay. Again, now you've lost 3 feet of seal material down here. So you're going to take 3 feet away from that 7 foot 5.5, and that's going to give you 4 foot 5.5 inches of seal material. Then again, you've got the jamb material, which is 9 feet on each side. There's 2 of them, so that's 18 feet. Now you have your mullions. The 2 vertical mullions are 18 feet. Plus you have a 7 foot 5.5 inch vertical mullion there. And then since that's 7.5 feet, you're going to end up with 4 feet 5.5 inches of mullion down here. So altogether the mullion, you have 18 with the verticals, 7 feet 5.5 plus 4 feet 5.5, and that gives you your total on that. Now what I want you to do is go through the rest of the frames and do the count just like I did. If you get confused, come back and look at it again. I'm going to give you a few minutes, and then we're going to go over them again, and we'll find out exactly how many cuts and counts there, how many cuts and joints there are, and how much material was needed in those other ones. But I want you to do it first based on what we just did with the first 2. So you go all the way through, and don't forget, over in the corner out here is J. That's one window too. Now we know from the floor plan count that there's only 1 of each of these. So we only have to count them once. If there were 2 of several of these, we'd have to double whatever we get here. Does that make sense? Okay, so I want you to go ahead and take your time and start doing those counts now, and then we're going to come back and we'll check to see how close you came. Okay? Okay, we're back. And now we're going to talk about how we get all of the footages that we need. So under your head material for each, if you filled out your page as you went across, then you've got a footage for all the head material that you need. And it's going to be between 6 feet and 8 feet. Now, rounding up is going to give you that edge, because sometimes you're going to cut pieces and you're not going to have enough left to get another piece out of it. So you want to make sure you have enough without having too much. So if you look at A, you should have 6 feet of head material. And if you look at B, you should have 7.5 feet. All right. And then C, you should have 8 feet. So then it goes between 7.5 and 8 feet. Now, if you got all of those down there, you're gonna go down there and total those up, okay, so that you get it. But now let's go to seal material, because it was a little different. So you had 6 feet of seal material on A, but on B, because of the door, you only had 4.5 feet of seal material, okay. So then you go back up to where the seal material matches the head material until you have E with a door, where again you're going to have 4.5 feet of seal material instead of the 8 feet of head material that you've got. Okay. Now, in this case, it doesn't matter if you're a foot off or 2 foot off or anything like that in this, because you want to make sure you have enough. So you always round up when you're going to round things, and if you don't have to, you don't have to. Okay, now we get down to the jamb material. Well, we know the jamb is always going to be, on all of these, it's going to be 18 except for J. J is is going to be 10 feet because it's a 3 feet by 5 foot window. And what you're doing now is just that one small window, but all the others are going to be 18 feet. But now the mullion material is going to be a little different on each one because you have two elevations that have doors in them, and then the rest don't. But you're looking at anywhere from 21 to 24 feet, with the exception of the ones with the doors in it, which is B and E, in which case you're going to have 18 feet of mullion material. Okay, now the reason we get this is because now we're going to total these things up. We're going to total all the cuts, all the joints up, all the cuts, all the head material, all the seal material, all the jamb material, and all the mullion material. Because when we go into the catalog to get part numbers, it's going to tell us what parts go in to make up the head. Because you might have two pieces of material that come together to make the head, and the same with the jambs, the same with the mullions. It just depends on the product that you're using. So we now have a total, and if you total all those things up, for right now, your totals will work on what we're going to do. Okay, but you total up all the joint material, you total up all the joint counts, all the cut counts, you total the head, seal, jamb, and mullion material. All right, the last thing we're going to do for these windows is we're going to make a separate list for glass, because in here you're going to have to go in and take each of these elevations and find out how many pieces of glass you need at what size. Okay, now this is really not that difficult, it's just time consuming. So if we start with A and you look at the top, you can see that there's a line underneath the 6 foot line at the top of the elevation. There's another mark and a line, and it says 4 feet 2 inches. All right, that's from the outside of that jamb to the outside of that mullion. Okay, now you'll see to the left hand side there'll be another mark on the inside that says 1 feet 10 inches from the top of this mullion to the top of that mullion. Now you're going to cut a 1/2 inch of glass off of each side. So if this is 4 foot 2 on the top, to get the square footage and the size of the glass, you're going to make on your list elevation A, glass piece. You're going to say this is elevation A, and you mark A out here under this glass takeoff, and put at the top of your page glass takeoff. Okay, and then what you're going to do is there's going to be, if you count the openings, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 openings. So you're going to have 6 different measurements. However, it appears that they're going to be fairly close to the same. But for right now, you're going to have 6 different openings. So you're going to say A1 is, you always do the width first and then the height. So it's 4 foot 2 by 1 foot 10. Do you see that? So that measurement goes all the way across. So the second piece, number 2, over here is going to be 1 foot 10 by 1 foot 10. 10. Okay. Now if you go down to the next piece, you'll see there's another bracket there, and that one says that it's 5 foot 2. And if you look at the top again, where it was 4 foot 2, it's the same width. So on number 3, you're going to do a 4 foot 2 by 5 foot 2. Okay, and then to the left of it, you're still going to be 1 foot 10. For number 4, you're going to be 1 foot 10 by 5 foot 2. Okay, and number 5 is going to be 4 foot 2, because it's a little wide one. Okay, 4 foot 2 by 2 foot. Now the last one over there is 1 foot 10. Number 6 is 1 foot 10 by 2 feet. You see why? If you look at number 1 at the top, it's got the marker says it's 1 foot 10 inches high, and at the top it says it's 4 foot 2 inches wide. So the one underneath that is 4 foot 2 inches wide as well. It's just a different height. And the one at the bottom is 4 foot 2 inches high too. It's just a different height. On the right, they're 1 foot 10 inches high, and you'll use these measurements on the left for the height. So 1 foot, all 3 of them on the right are 1 foot 10 inches wide, and the different heights, are on the left there. So, does that make sense to you? Because you're going to have a tally of how many pieces of glass you're going to need at what size. Okay? Now, this is not a difficult thing to do, but it is time consuming, and so you need it. So you have to do it to each elevation. And it won't be any different on the door pages, because you have, on the ones with doors, because you have the dimensions on the top and in this long line over here on the far side, but they're always going to be the same, because this is one wall of windows, so all these horizontals and verticals are going to look the same. So your heights are always going to be the same, and your widths are going to be pretty close to the same, except you'll see up here on B, where it has the door, it says that the door width is 3 feet 4 inches from outside mullion to outside mullion, okay, going up. And then it says equal on the other side. So you have to subtract from 7 feet 5.5 inches, subtract 3 feet 4.5 inches, and divide that by 2, and it'll give you the widths of these equals, okay? And then it tells you where, over here on the far left, on the outside of elevation D, it gives you the heights, okay? So you have the widths on here, and you have to go all the way to the end. And the same thing on the line above that. When you look at the widths are on the top, but the heights are at the end of the line, okay? So you want to do these, and you'll notice that some of these are exactly the same, so you don't have to redo your windows again. When it's there's a 7'8" and a 7'8", which is H and F, they're going to be exactly the same, the window sizes. So you do one, you just double it for the other one. They're all going to be fairly close, within an inch or two of each other. So you can thumbnail it by looking at those and just doing it. But you'll see that C and D are very much the same size. It's just one is 3 inches shorter than the other. So when you want to get real precise for ordering, because what's going to happen in the field is, once they start building this, they're going to have to get the glass to fit these frames, okay? So they'll field verify those openings before they order the glass. So if there are any changes, they'll make them there. But you need to know what size glasses you need. So I want you to pause the tape here. Pause the video here. I keep saying tape, and I'm sorry. This is new age, and I'm a little older. But I want you to pause it here, and I want you to go get the sizes of the glass for each one of these elevations. Okay? Now we're getting through the rough part. The easy part's coming. Okay? So I want you to take a moment, do that. When you're through, then come back and start the video again. Okay. Now that you've done those 3 exercises, what you should have left is your takeoff sheets. Your takeoff sheets will give you the links that you need, because you're going to total up all the head material, all the jamb material, all the seal material, and all the mullion material, and you're going to have total footage of what you need. You also went and made a list of all the sizes of glass you need. So now you're going to have that, so you can go ahead and compute that out to square footage sizes, so you can get total square footage, so you'll know. Because what's going to happen is, now you're going to prepare these lists and send them to a metal manufacturer, VistaWall, or we're using VistaWall, I think, on this one. But you're going to send that metal list off, and they're going to give you a price. Okay. One thing we're going to add to it is we're going to break these down by part numbers. Okay. And on the glass side, you're going to send that glass list off to a glass manufacturer or a glass distributor, who's going to give you a price for all those pieces of glass. Now, one of the reasons you do it in pieces like that too is because sometimes oversized pieces and undersized pieces of glass cost more than others. They normally give you a price back in square footage, but if you have a really big piece of glass, it'll cost more per square foot than the other regular sized pieces of glass. In this bid, I don't believe we have anything that's really considered oversized. But if you get a piece of glass that's 8 foot by 9 foot, that's an oversized piece of glass, and it's going to cost more. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to determine what materials we're actually using, what kind of glass we're using, and we also know what kind of, we're going to find out what kind of metal material we're using, because they all come in different groups depending on what the purpose is. Now, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go look at the glass specification and find out which type of glass we're using. So if you go to your plans, and sometimes you can find it in the plans, but let's take a look and see. Okay, luckily we don't have to go to the specs yet on this, because you'll see underneath H on page A8.1 where we were with the window schedule, it says that all of this is clear anodized aluminum storefront with double pane low E silver tinted glass. So on your glass takeoff sheet, when you send it to the glass manufacturer for a price, you're going to say this is all double pane low E silver tinted glass. Now, dual pane is insulated glass, and what it is 2 pieces of 1/4 inch glass with a 1/2 inch space in between. Okay, now you build that when you build the windows. I mean, it doesn't come with a spacer in between, because part of the material we get when we get the metal is the vinyl that goes in that puts the spacers and the setting blocks and things that will set the glass in place. Okay, but we know here that you're using double pane low E silver tinted glass. Okay, so when you send that off to your manufacturer, that's what they'll give you a price for. Now we also know that the storefront is a standard 2 by 4.5 inch storefront material. Okay, so what we're going to do now is look in the specifications and find the actual the name of the product that's spec'd. When there is no name, you go to the standard 2 by 4.5 inch material. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull up your, I sent you in your package a catalog for the metal. Okay, and you're going to pull up that file which is labeled catalog. And now we're going to pull that up, and we're going to look down to where we see the material. I've put the material in here that we're looking for. When you're normally looking for this, it'll say, do you want storefront? You click that, or you'll have a catalog in the shop you're working at, and it'll have go to the storefront section, and you'll find the AG 450s or 451s, different things like that. And then when you pull it up, it'll give you a sheet like you're going to look at here at the catalog. Now in the catalog, you're going to see that on the top of the catalog, it gives you like a sample frame system, and then there'll be numbers to each side: jamb, the head, the mullions, the joints, things like that. And what we're going to pull out here now with this catalog, so I want you to pull it up so you can look at it while we talk. So pause the tape now and pull up your catalog so that we can talk about it together. Okay. Okay. Now the catalog that you pulled up, we're going to be using an Arcadia catalog. Now, all of them are pretty much the same. We're just going to find the one we want. Now if you look at the front page, on the first page of the catalog, it shows you to the right there, there's an assembly of a wall frame system, okay, with a door in it. So it gives you everything, okay? But you'll see that at the top, number 1 is the head material, number 2 is the seal material, and is the horizontal mullion, and number 3 is the seal material. Okay, number 4 is a jamb, and number 5 is a vertical mullion. So these are the things we're going to be looking at along with this door frame here in a minute. So we know we want to find out first about number 1, the head. So if you go straight underneath that, you'll see a thing that says screw race outside set, and it'll have 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 is the head material. Okay, now you'll notice that the head material is 1 piece, okay, and it has the TL202 is the head member, okay. You'll also see that on the side of there too is the gasket material, and in between the 2 pieces of glass there is a setting block. So you know you're going to need setting block, and you know you're going to need gasket material, but for the head you're going to need this one assembly, okay. So under the head, you're going to write the TL202, how many feet of that you need. If you look down at number 2, now here you're talking about an intermediate horizontal. Okay? Alright, the intermediate horizontal, then you'll see it has glass on both sides, but it also has more than one part number. You have the TG213ST, and you have the TL203, and you also have the TL210. Okay? Again, you need the setting block, the gasket, and the water diverters, okay, on both sides. So you're going to need how many feet of that you're going to need, and converters too. Now the seal material is made out of basically the same thing as the top of the horizontal mullion, the TG213ST and the TL203, but it has a TF451 at the bottom for the seal. Okay, you're also going to need the setting block, the gasket, and the water diverters. Okay, so on all of these, you're going to put that in there to what you need. So many feet of the TG213ST. So since the seal and the horizontal vertical use that same piece, let's go down a little farther till we get to 5, and you have to jump down a page. And on 5, you're talking about the vertical, which under the intermediate vertical, which is number 5 right here. Okay, and there you have the TL210 and the TL202. Okay, and you can also use the TG 215, but in this case you're going to have the blocking all the way through. So you're going to use the intermediate vertical number 5, the TL202 and the TL210. Now you'll notice that the jam is number 4, and it uses a TL202 and a TG200. So under that, you're going to have to say you need just as many feet of the 200 as you do of the 202 for the jams. Okay, you're going to need just as many feet of the 210 as you do for the 202 for the intermediate vertical. And then back up here on the excuse me, right there with you. On the head assembly, you're going to need how many feet of head assembly of the 202, but you notice the 202 is used again. So you're going to add them all together. Then on the intermediate horizontal, you're going to need the footage for the 213ST for the horizontal and for the seal. So those are going to add together. And the 203 for each one. But the 210 is just going to be for that horizontal, and the TF451 is just for the seal. So you're going to have to tell them how many feet you need of that, how many feet of gasket, how many feet of water diverter, and setting blocks you need. Okay? So that's what you put on your sheet. You add up all the head material, and you get your part numbers, and you put it down. Or you can just as easily tell them that I need 47 feet, or let's just pull a round number out right now. I need 100 feet of head material for an AG 451 series, okay, or a TL series is what the catalog we're looking at. Top load TL series, 2 inch by 4.5 inch glazing system, okay, center glaze. And you say I need so many feet of head, so many feet of seal, so many feet of horizontal mullion, and so many feet of intermediate vertical mullion. Okay. Now the same thing is going to happen when you get to the door. You're going to order the door by the frame and itself. If you go down a couple of pages here to the 3rd page, you're going to see that we're talking about the door itself. Okay, and it will show you what number 12, which is the bottom plate at the bottom, number 9, 10, and 11. Those are the head frames and the jam frames of the doors, and the bottom, the seal of the door. So you go down here through the pages until you get to 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay? So when you look at 9, you're going to see that's the door, which is the DS800 or DS0100. We're not going to have to mess with the part numbers on that stuff, because we're going to tell them we need a narrow style door with a 10-inch bottom rail and frame to fit the TL series 3-foot by 7-foot door. Okay, and they'll provide you with all the other part numbers that you need for that, and they'll also provide you with all the other numbers you need for the for that. If you just tell them I need so many feet of head material for this series, I need so many feet of seal material, and I need so many feet of jam, intermediate vertical and intermediate horizontal. Okay, that was going to get you a quote for your metal price. Now we know that the glass price we're going to send to the glass guy, we're going to give him the square footages of each piece of glass we need, and they will come back with a price for that, and that's where you'll get your prices for this. Now The next thing we're going to talk about is labor, because labor is probably the most difficult thing to estimate in this. There are a lot of shortcuts to getting your metal quotes and glass quotes and things, but labor is probably the most difficult one to do because it's different depending on the company you're working with. There are standards that you use, but we did these joint counts and cut counts for two reasons. We know it takes time to put the joints in place. We also know it takes time to attach the head, jambs, and seals into the opening wall. Okay? But it also takes time to put those joints together, and then once you put the joints together, it takes time to glaze it, to put the glass in place. So you've got three things that come into play on that, and there are some outside elements that come into play with labor as well, such as logistics. Is the material delivered to the job site, and are you going to fabricate on the job site, or is the material going to your shop and you're going to fabricate in the shop? Because doors, when we do doors, they come not completely put together. The frames are knocked down, and then you have to put the glass in the doors. The glass comes unglazed. So you're going to have to take the two doors that we got, and on your glass glass takeoff, you're going to have to add a 1/4 inch clear glass for those doors. Okay? And then in the shop is where they put the hinges on the doors. They do the prep for everything. And then when they hang the doors, they're going to put the frame up inside the window elevation and then hang the doors in the frame. So there are some standards that I'm going to provide you with a list of some standard hours of labor for each, some of the things like doors. Normally a single leaf door will take 4 hours to hang. Okay? But you've also got about 2.5 hours of prep time before you hang it. So one single leaf door, like we have 3 of them here, the one single leaf door is going to take about 6 to 7 hours to completely prep, glaze, and hang. Okay? So your rule of thumb is 8 hours per door. A pair of doors is 12 hours. Okay? Well, we have 3 doors, so we know already that we've got 24 hours just indoors. Okay? Now, you took your joint count, and did you add all that up? Then you get a total number of joints for the project. Now, what you do with that then, I normally figure on standard storefront about 15 minutes per joint. Okay? And you're looking at about 30 minutes per section to set glass, vinyl, and everything else inside once you've put the frame together. And then you have your cut. It's going to take about 10 minutes to cut each piece and get it all prepared so you know you cut it properly and you've got the right sizes. Okay? So we're going to take for labor and we're going to add up all of those joints, and then we're going to multiply by 15 and divide by 60. Okay? So pause here and let's do the totals on your joint. Okay. Now that you've gone back and totaled everything up, you should have somewhere around 112 joints and about 88 cuts. You've got about 57 pieces of glass that are going in. And here's the way that I do labor. I figure 15 minutes per joint. Okay? So you take the 112 joints, or whatever count you came up with right now, you need to be comfortable with what you counted. 112 times 15 divided by 60. Okay? Now, you take that figure and write it out at the top of the page. Then you're going to do the cuts. Cuts are going to take about 10 minutes per cut. So 88 cuts, you'd take 88 times 10 divided by 60. Now you take that figure and put it underneath the other one. That's how many hours it's going to take for the cuts and how many hours for the joints. Okay. Now you're also going to take the doors we talked about, since you have 3 of them. That's 3 times 8 hours. We'll cover prep and installation. So you got 24 hours for that. So write that figure underneath there. Then you've got the actual glazing itself. Okay. So I figure always 30 minutes per set of glass to glaze one opening. Now that's not the whole elevation, that's one of the lights in the opening. Okay, so you have about 57 pieces of glass that are going to go in, dual pane, and that's about 30 minutes. So you take the 57, you multiply times 30, and you divide by 60. That gives you an hour rate for the glass installation. Now you need to add on putting actually the head, seal, and jamb material, attaching it to the opening wall. So there again you come up with 88 pieces, and again you do 10 times the 88 pieces, and you put that figure in there again for the labor for that. You've got another figure of about you have 9 elevations and 3 doors, and you're going to have logistics of taking that stuff off a truck, putting it in where it goes, and lining it up to be put together. So you need to add about 3 to 5 hours for logistics. Okay. Now, when you get all of those figures together, that's the hours, how many hours it's going to take for a 2-man team, an installer and a helper. Okay? So you have to then take the total hours, and you're going to take the hourly rate plus burden, and that's what you're going to multiply out for a helper and an installer, times that many hours. Okay, that gets you the labor you need. So you're going to be in this project some between 95 and 110 hours. Okay, which would be a very nice rate for this. Now you might find that the company you're working for works faster or works slower. Okay, now you know how many hours it's going to take to do the job. You now know all the material you're going to need to do the job. So you do one last double check through the plans to make sure you didn't miss something. And we found we have. If you look at the A8.1, underneath the door schedule, it says right here that there's a hardware schedule. And underneath this, note door hardware to meet building code. Okay, so it says here door handle pulls, latches, locks, and other operating devices should be installed so high above the floor. But what you need to know is, what are you going to need for those 3 doors? So the interior doors, which we don't have any, all of ours are exterior doors, we use 1-inch diameter brushed stainless steel 8-inch door mounted pull handle with a stainless steel 2.5-inch diameter single cylinder deadbolt. And then you have the mortise ball bearing hinges and a Door-O-Matic door closers. So you need to put that in with your metal bid for the doors to please provide a price for these hardware. I always have to get the hardware in your job. One last thing that we didn't talk about as far as labor goes is caulking. You're going to have to seal all the perimeters of all the windows. Okay? So the way we figure the labor for that is we go back into the window elevations, and we get the perimeters of all of those window elevations. Okay. Now you remember the first one is 6 feet by 9 feet. So you add each side. You have 6 feet plus 9 feet is 15, and then the other 2 sides is 15 again. So you've got 30 feet on the first one. Now I need you to go through and do every one of those elevations to get your perimeter footage. Okay? They're going to be around 30 to 35 feet, each one of them. And you have 9, except for J, which is 16 feet. Okay? But go ahead and add those up so that you get a figure. And when you're ready, then come back. And push pause now. When you're ready, come back. Okay, now you come up with around 270 feet. And you want to then figure that it's going to take you about 4 to 5 minutes per foot to caulk each one of these things. So you're going to come up with another 20 hours. Alright, so you need to add that 20 hours to your labor. So that's going to make your total labor around 120 hours. Okay? So keep that in mind as you do it. The last part of it is always caulking. Now the second part of that is that you're also going to have to do shop drawings in most cases, which are going to cost you about $150 to $300 per page, depending on where you are. But you're going to have to add a figure in for that. And also, you're going to have to add in if you need lifts or scaffolds or anything like that. So we're going to use $350 for lifts in this case because those go up 9 feet. You can't reach 9 feet from the floor. So we're going to add $350 in that when we go to do the pricing of this. Keep that in mind. All right, now that takes care of the rest of the labor calculations. So make sure that you add the hardware list to your metal list when you send it out for quote so you can get everything. Now in different plans you're going to find there might be operable windows that have hardware too, so you've got to look all of that up. One last thing I want to look at before we finish up here is the door schedule, which is on the plan page right above where we're looking at the hardware. And just make sure that we've gotten every door. So we're looking for door type A's, and there are 3 door type A's. So we do have 3 doors. So we're just kind of double checking to make sure that we got everything. Now when you are going through the plans, you will have found any detailed information that you need for this. But that concludes this lesson, the second lesson, and next we're going to be talking about how you put all this stuff together to start building your estimate. So good luck, and I'll look for you on the next lesson.